And welcome to Trash with a capital T, where we give trashy books and movies the love they truly deserve. New videos are posted here every Sunday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. I am your host, Bobby, and we are jumping back into some familiar territory today. Yeah, Left Behind, The Kids, Book 5, Nicolae High. I have made it 5 books in. 5 books. I have 1 book left in this box set, and I have ordered the next box set. So I am committed, at least now, up until book 12. Why am I doing this to myself? Okay, so I'm not going to do a lot of plot recap. This book actually starts a whole new plot arc within this series, so talking about some of the stuff that happened before won't really help you out here. But if you are interested, I got a playlist back on my channel for all of my Left Behind videos. Go check it out. We are following our favorite 4 kids. We got Judd, Vicky, Lionel, and Ryan. Lionel and Ryan don't do much in this book. They kind of sit this one out. Which is fine. We got plenty of them in the first 3 books. Book 4 was mostly a prophecy dump. We do get a little bit of that here. We get it repeated. Luckily, not to the extent that we did in book 4. This one only has 115 pages. It's the shortest of the books so far. So there's not a lot of room to recap. The actual recap, every one of these starts with a little recap. Usually it's like 5 or 6 pages. This one is 2 pages. So I think someone told him, hey, cut back. But we do get a lot of Vicky. We get a lot of Judd. We even get some Bruce Barnes, the pastor. He gets some character growth here, which I did appreciate. It also has some problems. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but this is where Jerry and Tim's politics creep in, specifically when it comes to the subject of public schools and the separation of church and state. And let me just state this right now without going on a huge rant like I have in other takes. It ain't a great look for them. Yeah. They say exactly what you think they were going to say, and yeah, it's not good. I don't want to mock Christianity or make anyone feel bad about their faith, but when I see BS, I'm calling BS. And their interpretation of the separation of church and state as it pertains to public schools is BS. Now, for the world of this book, I'm not going to... It does make sense where it eventually goes because of how things are playing out. And we'll get into that when we get into the plot. But just understand that there's some not so truthful moments in here when it comes to the actual idea of the separation of church and state, which kind of pisses me off because this book is written for kids who may not know better. And if this is where they're learning it from, they're learning it wrong. But it's also a common message that is sold through a lot of churches, and it was told to me. I went through to public school up till 3rd grade. And after that, I went to Christian schools. And it was the same. It was not like hearing this thing here. It was nothing new to me. It was exactly what I was hearing there. And even then I was going, that's not true. But yeah, let's just get into the plot recap. So we start the book with Vicky hitchhiking her way to Michigan to meet her brother's roommate, Bub. She feels compelled to talk to him. While her brother was raptured, Bub was left behind. He seemed hesitant to talk to her on the phone, but she feels compelled to spread the word of Jesus to him because after everything that's happened, she wants to make sure she gives everyone the proper chance to find Christ. Oh, let me just say this right now. I usually say this earlier in the videos, but I'm going to drop it in here. Just know I come at these books, I'm not a believer, but I do come at them without judgment. Like, I'm not hate reading these. These books do have a lot of issues, and we'll get into them, but not just the political ones, but story issues, plotting issues, pacing issues, that type of thing. But I come at these looking like, are these entertaining? Do these work for the audience they're intended for? So just so you know, when I'm talking about anything in the book, where it's talking about saving souls or people coming to Christ, well, those aren't my personal beliefs. That also is the beliefs of the characters and the world they live in. So I'm going to treat them as they are treated in the book. So Vicky is on a mission to get to Bub to save his soul, essentially. And because Judd won't drive her to Michigan to do this, she is hitchhiking, and she nearly gets pulled into a truck with 2 not great guys, but is eventually saved by an old trucker named Deacon, who gives Grizzly Adams vibes, and I loved him. And sadly, I don't think we're going to get a lot more of him, but he does have a few little scenes in this, and I enjoyed those scenes. I kind of hope they start bringing some of these side characters back or involving in the plot more, But what I feel like they're doing is they're bringing in these adult characters, having them give their testimony, which at this point are all pretty much the same, and then shuffling them off the page once they're kind of done giving their testimony. And I hope that's not the case, because I'd like to see Josie come back. I'd like to see some of these characters come back, but I'm not holding out hope. But she is kind of rescued by Deacon, and they head to a diner, and he tries to find someone who's going to Michigan to get her to Bub, but no one is going that way, so she eventually just has to call Judd so he can pick her up. I'm going to spoil this right now. This plot goes nowhere because Deacon does find out that Bub most likely died in a gas explosion. So there are 2 ways to die in a Left Behind book. 1, gas explosion. 2, shot in the face. No one gets shot in the face in this one, so it had to be a gas explosion. But a lot of people have been shot in the face in the series so far. Yeah, and died in gas explosions. Oh, plane crashes. There's a plane crash, at least one, which is an explosion. So that plot goes nowhere. But we do get some nice moments with Vicky, and we kind of see her more as a character outside of just being the heart of the group. We see her passion for wanting to help people. And she understands if she can save souls in the end, if they die during the tribulation, they'll be with Jesus. So she's really setting them up so that they will not suffer in hell after they die. And I like this for Vicky. I like seeing this more excited, passionate character. And it elevates her from just kind of being like the heart of the group, which is not a bad thing. But she was kind of falling into this mom role, and she's a 14-year-old girl. That feels wrong. So to give her more of an active role within the story works for me. And this is something that carries throughout this book. This book, like I said, is not very forward. It doesn't move the story forward very far. It really just gets the kids into school and establishes kind of what they're going to be facing there. The other character we spend a lot of time with in this one is Judd. And through Judd, we get more time with Pastor Barnes. The Pastor Barnes stuff I really enjoyed. So they basically... Sorry, I bumped my table. They basically use this to show Pastor Barnes being on the verge of burnout, like him trying to deal with the fact that his family has been raptured. He's living alone. He is struggling to deal with the weight of his responsibility as the new pastor for all of this growing congregation of people who are coming to the realization that the rapture happened. And the weight is getting to him. And he gets some really good character growth in this one, which I was not expecting. There was something in one of the earlier books, one of the things with him that kind of bugged me, but I think I actually interpreted it correctly, was him questioning people's sincerity when they accepted Christ. And the way I interpreted it was me trying to be gracious to the authors, was because of his own lack of sincerity in his beliefs, even though he was a pastor, he projected that onto other people. But I thought that was just me trying to add depth to the book. No, I think that was actually what they were trying to do. And credit to where credit's due, that comes through again here. You see his struggle, his human struggle with the weight of what he's dealing with. And I appreciated that. I did. I think the character work with him and Judd and Vicky in this one was pretty good, even if this isn't a big important plot moment for the book. Judd, we really get more of him once we get to the school. So the school situation is where we get the political stuff that I was talking about earlier. So basically, the schools are all being renamed. Prospect High, which is the high school that they're going to, is now Nicolae Carpathia High. Their mascot was changed from the Warriors to the Doves. And they have this big assembly to kind of establish how things are going to go forward now that the rapture's happened. And they have lost students and teachers and all of that stuff. And it is made very clear that even though they're going to have counseling and they're going to be talking about what happened and the disappearances, they are not to talk about the one reason that people vanished. You know which reason I'm talking about, the Jesus reason, because of the separation of church and state. So there's other things that happen during this thing. So 2 boys are holding their Bibles. The gym teacher confiscates the Bibles. We meet these guys later. They are, I had their name up earlier and I forgot what, John and Mark. Their names are John and Mark. And the kids are kind of like, what's going on? And it's, even though they're told not to talk about it, of course it comes up, but It's made very clear because of the separation of church and state. They cannot talk about the rapture. They can talk about aliens. Maybe it was something to do with a nuclear explosion. I'm surprised they did not bring Fermilab into this, because Fermilab is like not far from Mount Prospect. But yeah, so that we're kind of getting that. Now, within the world of the book, it does make sense that they would start to crack down on religion in schools, because one of the parts of the new one world government is the establishment of a one world religion. And that, so within the world of the book, that makes sense. There's just one comment that a teacher makes when they confiscate the Bibles where it's just like, that's not how that works, guys. No. Okay. Moving on. I don't want to get hung up on that. So the kids then kind of, after the assembly, they go to their classes, and you kind of hear these different stories, the struggles everyone's going through, the anger, the fear, some people not taking it seriously because they didn't lose anybody. And the kids are kind of getting an idea of like, okay, who can we maybe work with? Who here is on our side? And it gives them the idea that they need to, because they're seeing this crackdown on the discussion of it being the rapture, they're like, we need to be careful. We can't draw too much attention to ourselves, because they kind of have moments, both Vicky and Judd have moments where they kind of blow up at people saying, how can you not see what this is? And then they realize like, hey, maybe this isn't the best course of action, because it's going to put a target on us. So if we want to save people, we need to keep our heads down and find other ways to get people together. And eventually that leads to them deciding to create a newsletter that they will leave around the school with Bible verses and other information that they get from Pastor Barnes to help find other Christians, but also to kind of get other potential converts. And that's where we kind of meet the John and Mark. I think that's what I can't remember the names because they're barely characters. John and Mark. That's where they come in, and we get there. It's hinted that like a teacher or two might be on their side, and we also get like the psychiatry teacher or psychology teacher who's like, well, you're just dealing with survivor's guilt, and it was most likely a nuclear reaction or something, and it was an interesting scene, but it's the same thing I'm kind of used to, which is like, we're going through, so I'm filming this in October. We are actually going through Rapturepalooza round 2 at this point. And we're getting the scoffers and what is it? Something scoffers, but it's that kind of mentality where it's the like, oh, it could never be that. Like, okay. But there's actually, I'm going to call out one scene that I actually really loved. Because again, we got some character work here. It was a teacher who really isn't a character. It's just this old teacher who usually is all very kept up, and in this, I think Judd's in her class. It's Vicky, and they describe her as kind of unkempt and disheveled, and she is talking to the kids, and some of the kids are cracking jokes about it. And she gets very upset, and you could tell she's terrified. And it's just nothing character. Like, she has no bearing to the plot. We'll never see her again. I hope, but if we do see her again, I'd be glad, because I was interested to see her reaction. She was terrified, and she was breaking down in front of the students, and she's crying. She's like, "Oh, my grandchildren are gone. Parts of my family are gone. How can you make jokes about this? People are vanished." And it's terrifying. And she doesn't, it's not even like I know why. It's just I don't care why. It happened, and I'm terrified. How can you laugh about this? And that moment worked. That's probably why I like this one more than I did with 4. 4 was a lot of plot, like prophecy dump. That's the best way to put it. Because we get Bruce basically giving a class on the timeline of the rapture, the tribulation, and the end times. And we do get some of that here when the kids go to church on Sundays and Bruce is preaching, but it's to a much more controlled degree because they want to establish a lot more in this one. And they have a smaller page count to do it. I actually don't know why this one is only 115 pages. I think they could have expanded this a little more, but they were also writing the adult books at the time, and I don't know. There is a ghostwriter who's listed on some of these if you look them up online, but I actually don't know how much was actually ghostwritten. but they were writing the adult books at the same time as this. So they maybe just had to meet a deadline and that's all they could get done. So this one does work better, but it's not a good place to start. You really do have to start with book one, which I'm sorry, it's very boring. But if you jump in here, you're going to be lost because you're really already you're losing a lot of the establishment here. But for someone who has made it this far, 5 books in out of 40, it's actually it's a nice bit of character development, and it does give you the idea that like okay, these books are going to work in arcs. We're not just getting one long story. We're going to get smaller arcs. So this arc, I think, carries until book 8. And then after that, we start getting into the actual tribulation. And there's we get to some of the disasters. I think one of the kids dies. They do make it clear that the kids are always at risk. There's a good chance that not all of them are going to make it. So I'm going to be interested to see where that goes. I think this one, someone in my comments did describe this arc as kind of boring. So I'm gonna hold out hope that maybe I'll get more character moments. These books are not hard to read. I read this one in like maybe an hour and a half, like in breaks because I was working. Like I would take a break for a couple minutes and read, and then it takes no time to read them. So they're not hard to read. I'm still not recommending this, but if you're interested, especially after everything that's going on with like the rapture predictions and all of that, this is not a bad place to start. They are definitely less of a commitment than the adult books. And the adult books for me are harder to get into. I find the characters there to be much stiffer. The random political ramblings that pop up in those are a lot harder to get through. The pacing in those is terrible. The pacing in these is not great, but because they're so short that it doesn't matter if it drags a little bit because it's over in 100. Most of these are about 145 pages. It's over shortly. So you know, if that is something, because of everything that we've been going through, if that's something that interests you, cool, check it out. One of the things, if you're talking about the timeline, this is still pre-tribulation. The peace treaty with Israel in the book has not been signed. Once that treaty is signed, that is when we start hitting the tribulation. That's when things really hit the fan. But yeah, I only have one left in the box set. I can't believe that. Holy crap. You guys are going to notice my schedule is going to be a little wonky this December because of the holidays. So this one's probably going to be coming out a little earlier than I normally do. I usually do Left Behind as like the 3rd week of the month, but because that would land right around Christmas-esque, I might move this up a little bit. And I'm going to bring in some other stuff. Yeah. I mean, obviously I'm committing to reading more of the series. I haven't given up yet. I think I'm done with the adult books for a while. The Rising was painful. It took me months to read that book. It's 400 pages. It shouldn't have taken me months. It took me months. But the kids' books so far, I'm enjoying them. And the next one, let me pull, I think it's called The Underground. Sorry, I got a stack of like, an ever-growing stack of Christian YA books growing over here. Next book, book 6, The Underground, where the kids start to create their newsletter on someone's home PC because it can do home publishing. It was very funny when I read that part. I was like, oh, the 90s. But yes, so chugging along, and I will see you guys with the next books. So, you know, love what you love. Enjoy what you're reading and watching. Have an amazing morning, afternoon, or evening. And I will see you all in the next one. Bye.